Hello IELTS students from all areas of the globe. I'm your IELTS tutor Jack, and welcome back to another episode of the IELTS Plus English podcast. A much calmer subject today. We can relax. We're talking about shopping. No science today, just shopping. Now, I'm not a big fan of shopping, but certainly it's a subject I can talk about, and it's, of course, something we all do. Now, something you should all do is go to www.jacks-english.com to get your free handout. 10 vocabulary and expressions and 6 key questions that come up in the IELTS, and I will be dealing with today in this episode. And I think we've got such an easy topic, I'm going to give myself that challenge again. I'm going to try and include all vocabulary and expressions throughout today's episode, and if I include one, you will hear this sound. That means I included one of them, so you can check it on the list, you can tick it on the list if I did it, and fingers crossed I can get all 10 vocabulary and expressions into my answers. We won't waste any more time today. We are going to get straight into part 1, question 1. How do you feel about shopping? I'm not a huge fan of shopping. I sometimes go and food shopping, clothes shopping, whatever I need to do. I certainly don't go window shopping. I think that's for people who really like to do shopping in their free time. But when it comes to big purchases such as TVs, phones, cars, whatever it is, I do like to shop around and make sure I get the best deal and best product. Good. Okay, that's 2 already. What types of shops do you use regularly? When it comes to online shops, I use these kind of Amazon type shops a lot. These are online stores that have a lot of categories and products. I think we all use something like that. In our country, Korea, it's Coupang. For me personally, I love Coupang. And when it comes to brick and mortar stores, then I like to go to the supermarket. I actually enjoy going to the supermarket. I don't know why. I love looking at the food, I guess. And I do love buying food. So yeah, those 2. Okay, part 2 is describe your favorite shop. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock and my time starts now. I'd like to tell you about Costco. When I was young, I always liked going to the supermarket. I love looking at food. As I grew up, I enjoyed looking at wine, cheese. I just love having all the different products in one place. So, when I was young and I lived in England, I would go to Tesco. Tesco was my favorite store. It's huge. The prices are very good. They have a wonderful range of products. Yeah, it's somewhere I really liked to spend time. Even as a teenager, I genuinely enjoyed it. So let me tell you a little more about Costco. Costco is, I suppose you would call it a supermarket. It carries products in bulk. You have to buy in bulk. So you do tend to get some interesting products at a knockdown price. I like going there to look at the butcher section, the bakery, the wine. I do like to see that. And it's a really fun place to go with decent quality food and very fresh products. For me personally, I go there once a month approximately. You do need to have a membership to be a part of Costco and to go there. And sometimes I go on kind of shopping sprees. I'll go there and really go around and buy lots of things and end up spending far too much money. I would say it's my favorite shop because of, you can buy very interesting products from other countries and in bulk and in good prices. So in the future, I'm sure I'll spend so much more time there. It's Okay, good. That wasn't bad. I tell you what my problem was. What I recommend my students when you do a part 2, and I'll talk about this later in more depth, but basically when you talk about the past, talk about something very personal to you. Really focus on your own experience, and that's what I did today, as you heard. But when you move to the description section, I really recommend you focus on being a bit more general and talk about the thing. So in the thing that you're focusing on. In this case, it was Costco. I think I should have spent more time talking about the layout, the size, the staff, the types of products in more depth. Instead of that, I moved away and I kind of came back to my own habits and experience, and it made it a little hard to reach the 2 minutes. If you make sure the past and description sections are as different as possible, it makes it easier to add more depth and more information and therefore reach 2 minutes. Now, I won't take your time in this podcast episode. If you want more information on this, please check out my YouTube. I have a very in-depth video on part 2, so go and check that out. But I felt I could have done better. Okay, part 3. Why do you think some people purchase things they do not need? I think one of the main causes of purchasing something you don't want is through impulse buys. We go somewhere, we stand in line or something like that, and we see something we like, and okay, I'll buy it suddenly, and that's called an impulse buy or impulse purchase. And that's a great way to buy something you don't actually want, and you go home and you experience buyer's remorse, meaning that you regret it. So I think impulse buys are a big reason. Also, another reason we buy things we don't want is addiction. Being a shopaholic, you end up buying things that you really didn't want. Okay, I don't know how I'm doing. How am I doing with these vocabulary expressions? I think I've covered quite a lot. You will know. It's hard for me to keep track now. Let's do another question. To what extent do you think advertising affects the way people shop? I think that advertising has a couple of different effects on the way we shop. Number one, it causes us to buy things we don't want. That's a problem. On the other hand, it can introduce top-notch products to us that perhaps we weren't aware of. It adds options to what we're considering. So that's a good thing. But as I mentioned in my previous answer, a big effect is these impulse buys, which are a problem for some people, me included. For me, last week, for example, I went to the store and I saw this chocolate on sale. It was next to the counter. I bought it. It was an impulse buy, and I regretted it later on. Good. Okay, just a quick note there. If you don't have enough content in your answer, add your own personal experience like I did. I often say, last week I did something. That's a good way to extend your answer. Final question today. I think we still have some vocabulary to include. How have shopping habits changed over recent years? I think one of the biggest ways that shopping habits have changed is transparency of price, because we can see everything on the internet now. In the past, I remember we could haggle in some shops, particularly at the market. But nowadays, because all the prices are pretty clear, you don't haggle so much because we know it's a good price or not. So haggling has decreased, I would say. Apart from that, we do a lot of online purchases. That's a really big effect of the internet and smartphones. And perhaps because of that, we are buying more than we used to. and perhaps buying more exorbitant products that we shouldn't do. Okay, I sneaked in the word exorbitant at the end there, which means too expensive, beyond what we can afford. But I believe that was all 10 vocabulary and expressions. So I hope you enjoyed today's topic, shopping, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Remember, I really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, comment, and I will chat to you in the comments section. I always do. And have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.